If you're Google and you're reading the tweets that, 1 in every 5 searches in the States or 1 in every 10 searches in the States is on ChatGPT now, someone just took, in the span of 18 months, someone took 5 to 10% market share away from you. That's a stunning encroachment on what was, the most impenetrable fortress in all of technology. Welcome to another week of Very Brief Short Report. I'm Vas Natarajan.
I'm Sara Edelson. Nice to be here.
Nice to be here. Sara, I feel like every week is a crazy week.
So wild.
But this past week was especially crazy.
Especially crazy.
Yeah.
We will get into some of the movements, deal making, Friday to Monday, about face movements maybe later in the show. We just announced a pretty exciting Series A investment. Do you want to kind of give the update on Lovable?
Yeah. This was one of the most fun processes, deal chases, investments that I've ever gotten to be a part of. So stepping way back, what is Lovable? They are building a tool that leverages code generation technologies from all the AI companies to go that last mile and build any kind of website, web app, web service that you want. And so we see customers building personal portfolio websites that are building full-fledged micro SaaS applications that they are then selling to their end customers, and pretty much every flavor in between. But if you want to have a presence on the web, you don't need to code your way there anymore. Lovable can get you there. Mm-hmm. They released a stat this morning. I think it was something like 5 to 10% of all websites created in the last month were Lovable web properties. Amazing. So it's just really cool to think about how a tool like that augments and accelerates human expression, and as a result, communication and democracy and progress. I mean, this is something I love so much about both Gamma and Lovable. They're using the primitives behind AI to really collapse the expression process across modalities, be it a slide, a presentation, or a website. And what is that going to do to just engendering this like creative spirit in so many more people that can suddenly go out and talk about their new ideas and create innovative things. That's what gets me up in the morning. It's just thinking about companies that are solving those types of problems that are really empowering in that way. So we got a chance to obviously lead the Series A, and they announced that they're the fastest growing company to 100 million of ARR. It feels like in this generation, we're seeing more and more companies claim that throne of like, hey, we're the fastest growing to 100 million of ARR. But to do that in 8 months, I think speaks to the delightfulness of the product. Yeah. And it also speaks to just the liquidity in the market right now of end users, consumers, prosumers that are ready to adopt products, ready to pay for products. We're in such a mature part of the ecosystem in the life cycle of software, and to just drop AI into this very mature ecosystem means you can scale so much more quickly than you ever could, in at least past generations. So that's been really fun to watch. It's been really, really cool.
It's amazing. I mean, it's an incredible company, an amazing story. I mean, that stat is unreal. And also, it's really inspiring because, to your point, what does that represent? That represents just tons of people who have, creativity and expression and an idea that they wanted to bring to the world, that they've been maybe sitting on, noodling on, telling their friends about, trying to find a technical, co-founder to help them build.
Totally.
And now they're given the CTO in their pocket and they can bring that vision to life. It's just, it speaks to human creativity and ingenuity in a way that I think is just amazing that's, the first 8 months, what'll it be 12 months from now, 24 months from now?
It's like a living, breathing piece of software that can integrate in with other services, that can maintain state, that can read and write to a database. And so I just think about all the really cool use cases in my life, both in work and at home, where, the piece of software that I'm given isn't quite exactly the thing that I want. And I'm trying to bend and shape and contort it into my workflow. But now I can just use natural language and get that workflow expressed in a piece of software that I can deploy and manage. And, I don't necessarily need hundreds of thousands of people to discover it, but as long as it solves my need, that's the most important thing.
Totally.
The other cool part about Lovable is it's the fastest growing, fastest time to a unicorn valuation for a Swedish company. I mean, these are, this is an insanely talented team based in Stockholm, and they very much mirror some of the best technical teams that we're seeing here in the Valley. They love product. They live in office. They are, their workplace is their community. It is their friends. And I think they feel like this is the greatest moment in history for an entrepreneur. And so, why wouldn't they go all in? And just to experience that, to be able to visit them and bottle some of that energy up. I didn't exactly take home the bag of Swedish fish, but I took home a little jar of just that spirit that they have. And that was really cool. It, that's awesome. You realize that you can build something of significance and scale anywhere in this world.
Did you have cardamom buns while you were there?
Did not have cardamom buns. Is that a Swedish treat that I've missed out on?
It is. They're amazing. I have a few favorite spots in New York, I'll tell you, that I think have the best.
Okay.
I've made some at the holidays. My mother, when I grew up, she would make a cardamom loaf because we have Swedish heritage.
Wow, there you go.
So we'll just have to go back. Cardamom tasting all around Stockholm.
You and I were talking about something earlier in partner meeting of just articulating the swim lanes that the large AI companies seem to be finding their way to. So I think you'd mentioned, Perplexity, ChatGPT, OpenAI, obviously really very much consumer businesses at their heart. Anthropic, just launched a new product really targeting the financial services ecosystem. They seem to be going a little bit more enterprise. And then you have this 800-pound gorilla in the background with Google and all of their data and all of their search history and how that's sort of manifesting and percolating across all their different products. But it does feel like there's a framework or a pattern starting to emerge.
Well, and I think there's so much to be built. There's so much land to grab that even these big players can't be attacking all of it with equivalent strength.
Yeah.
And they also haven't built their brand and positioning and technology to fight all those fronts concurrently. And so, you've got Comet coming out really squarely going after that consumer use case from Perplexity that has always really differentiated around that consumer experience. And then, on the other end, the Claude for financial services, they've been, Anthropic has been really steeped in the value prop to enterprises, security, data safety, enterprise workflows. And so, they're emerging into these like very distinct identities where maybe if you go back in time, it was like they're all a chat box, and we're all comparing and contrasting, and I think it's certainly evolving into specialization in certain big buckets, and then of course at the startup side, seeing folks specialize even more narrowly than those big buckets around really distinct use cases that they think they can build a big business around.
There's some star researcher getting poached by one of the major hyperscalers or foundation model companies every day. And some of the offers that we're hearing about are astronomical.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this as a partnership on Monday of just this AI labor talent dislocation.
Yeah.
What are the second order effects of it? And is this here to stay? Because probably going to impact even the early stage companies that we're working with that want access to some of that talent. I mean, if you're a seed stage business, how do you go get, an ex OpenAI employee or Anthropic employee who's maybe looking for their next adventure. I mean,
Yeah.
that's, those are high offers to contend with.
Yeah. I think that, we're talking about these large compensation packages for highly sought after folks. I think the reality is if you are, a seed stage, early stage founder, maybe you have one of those people on your, founding team, but I think you're likely not going head to head with the like $100 million Meta comp package, right? You're playing in a different zone of the hiring market, which is super tight, for sure, super tight, because I think the opportunities are everywhere, right? We're seeing just unreal talent race out to build companies, right? So founding themselves is an alternative. Joining other startups that are in the early days is an alternative. And so it is a really tight market. At the same time, you have, CS grads for the first time struggling to get jobs, right? Because you have so many companies saying, wait, we have to digest how much more efficient we get with, these code gen tools.
Totally.
We're trying to infuse everything we do with AI. We're not making sort of net new entry level hires right now. And so you have sort of this interesting dynamic in the market of it being super, super tight. And then also, if you're willing to bet on sort of young, green talent, there's maybe more than there has been in some other moments in the cycle. So, I think it is hiring at the early days is just perennially the most important job of the founding team, right? Because you are building that talent density from which you grow, from which you replicate. And I think that will always be true. So it's as true in this moment of these crazy comp offers as it's ever been, but it maybe has changed sort of the alternatives.
Sure.
But I think if you're a super early stage founder, it's unlikely that if someone's going to take a huge giant comp package at Meta, that they were your right engineer number 2, 3, 4.
Exactly.
Much of it is like, do you want to build something from nothing? Do you have the grit to have most of the code be your own? Yeah. Which is just so different from the Meta experience. So maybe just, connecting what we're seeing at that level with what our early stage founders are doing every day.
Yeah, well said.
You never know what's right around the corner. So when we next get together for VBSR, maybe there'll be some new hot news for us to unpack. But this has been very fun, Vas. So thank you for hanging out.
It feels like every week is almost a year, if not a decade.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a cool feeling to have for us sitting in our seats. I mean, we're experiencing, the cliche of many lifetimes at once, and it's fun to unpack it all with you.
Totally.